There it is. All right, 6:30, let's do the pledge. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, here we go. No scheduled speakers. And we have 3 sets of meeting minutes that we gotta get caught up on. They span from October 9th, 23rd, November 12th. So do the 9th first. That was a relatively short meeting.
Very short, the minutes as drafted.
All right,
Well, second?
all in favor?
Aye.
October 23rd minutes.
Move to accept October 23rd as drafted. Well, second?
All right, all in favor? Aye. Last but not least, November 12th.
Move to accept November 12th as drafted.
Well, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comments?
So, I'm sorry, I've been missing the Board of Selectmen meetings, but I wanted to alert you to some issues that came up through my, at my last meeting at the SRPC, Stratford Regional Planning Commission. They're currently in the beginning the process of redrafting the 10-year plan, which goes is a 2-year cycle. And their target for completing their work on it is next May, and they expect to be visiting the towns through the winter and early spring. So you can expect likely to hear from them on that. In October, at the Planning Commission's Policy Committee meeting, New Hampshire DOT Commissioner Victoria Sheehan and the Deputy Commissioner were both there and spoke to the policy committee. I was not in attendance on that day, about the 10-year plan on state funding. And I was, it evidently was a big deal, and I wish that I had been there, because it occupied quite a bit of the next several meetings. I think the key point that I want to bring out here is that the FAST Act, which is the Federal Authorization for Transportation Programs in the United States, expires in 2020. And we knew that, and we talked about that on the last round of the 10-year plan, as well as the TIP and so forth. But this is the first time that it was pointed out that there's a provision in that act for rescission of unobligated federal funds. And the odd way that this is going to work is, and it expires in 2020. So the federal fiscal year 2020 starts in October of 2019. I might be mistaken on that, but at any rate, in September 30th of 2019, whatever federal funds that are programmed for a particular project all across the country for federal transportation dollars, if those funds haven't, that's going to be the snapshot day. Because the following July, evidently it's written in the legislation, that Congress, or somebody, gets to make the decision as to whether or not any unobligated funds for transportation projects gets pulled back. This is a huge deal, particularly for the state, because so many federal funds come into the state for projects. So projects that folks want to have done need to be obligated by the end of September of 2019. Now, it doesn't affect Brookfield because we're not getting any federal funds. But where it does begin to pose a concern is that the state made evidently a lot of expressed concern about future funding within the state of New Hampshire for transportation projects, apart from the whole issue of the federal funding. And that there just came right out and said that there's insufficient state funds to do the projects, and now I don't know if they said it directly or if this was just the conclusion that the gas tax is insufficient in the state of New Hampshire to support the transportation projects. It's not a sustainable source for funding future transportation needs. Problem is also nationally with the national gas tax, because cars are more fuel efficient, and with so in any rate, the funding for long term is a concern. And on the local side, the Wakefield representative to SRPC at the meeting that I did attend beginning of November made note that she was told by New Hampshire DOT that there's no more money for funding bridge repairs. And then I also learned that, so all of those things don't affect Brookfield directly, but here's where it begins to become an issue. We have gotten the highway block grants, and I went back for 5 years, from 2013 to 2017 in our town report. And every year, well, the lowest number was in 2013 when we got almost $28,000 for the highway block grant to use for transportation projects in town. And in 2017, last year, it was the highest number at $32,851.
And I just add a postscript to that. The reason it went up last year was because they had some additional funds that they went back and gave us. So it wasn't like that was all just highway block grant money. I could go back and look up the letter we received indicating where those funds were coming from, but it wasn't just strictly highway block grant money.
Well, I went through the town report and the reports that you provided for the town report and pulled out the highway block grant actual numbers.
Right, and that's what was reported to us from the state, and that is exactly what we received.
Okay, that's where I got the numbers from. So, all of that being said, thank you, Marilou, for that clarification. The concern is, how are we going to replace that funding downstream? Several years ago, I had suggested that the town consider what's known as a local option fee. And what that is it's an opportunity for a town to add a fee to each vehicle registration, except for ATVs. It doesn't apply to ATVs. And it can be up to $5 per registration. And that money goes into a dedicated capital reserve fund for a wide variety of transportation projects in the community. It can range from bike trails, right-of-way acquisition, construction, etc. You can tailor it to restrict it to particular things, as some towns have done. So mindful that we're at risk, I believe, given I think the handwriting's on the wall. So I wanted, first of all, to alert you to the concerns that have come out of SRPC. And secondly, ask that in the upcoming budget process that the Board of Selectmen consider preparing an ordinance. It has to go on the ballot. It's not through town meeting. It would be on the ballot to create which I know it as the local option fee, and it's, I RSA 261-153, which I will provide you a copy of, and I've highlighted the section that is applicable.
And you were calling it a local option fee, is that?
That's the lexicon that
Okay.
got applied to it when I first learned of this opportunity when I was working for Post. And in that context, it was for communities to set aside money specifically for public transit, but that's not the only use for those funds. It can be identified by the community. So I would, and I looked at the registration information. Unfortunately, the town report does not provide the number of registrations, it's just the dollar number. But I had asked the town clerk in 2015, there were 650 vehicle registrations, and we had just under $129,000 in revenue. Last year, we had almost $145,000. So presumably, either people are buying a lot of newer vehicles and paying a lot more for the registration, or the number of vehicles has gone up. So at 650 registrations at $5 a head per registration, it would give us, it's a small number, $3,250. However, having a reserve fund, that is something that could grow over time. So I just ask that we think about that in the budget process.
Thank you.
That's a good question, Diane.
Yes.
You said it doesn't include ATVs, does it include motorcycles, antique vehicles, tractors, farm vehicles?
It does not include, it said in the RSA, which I gave to Brian, construction vehicles were excluded, as well as, I don't remember what it said about about antique vehicles. But at any rate.
Thanks.
Any other public comments? Ed, do you want me to jump to you? Are you in the mood to get out of here, or?
That'd be awesome.
All right, let's go right to road agent then.
That's
Well,
all right, right?
most of the roads are doing, most of the paved roads are doing okay. We have an issue with Moose Mountain Road. I don't know if it's just the way it faces or what, but it seemed to build up ice. Everything else is clearing up good. We just went and scraped everything. Dirt roads are a mess, but we're continually scraping off the slush, trying not to scrape off the mud, you know. And we're extremely low on salt, trying to get some salt in. We pretty much used up everything we had with this storm. And just for informational, I've been hearing on some of the stations that I listen to, there are a lot of towns that are averaging 5 times more road salt use at this point than they usually use. So this time of year,
Yeah.
you know. So we're doing okay in that respect. We're just a little more than we normally use at this time of year. So that's about it. Continue to scrape in the morning. We laid down some salt and stuff today on around, actually less than a half an hour ago on Moose Mountain. We'll let that sit all night and get up early before the school bus and scrape. Hopefully it'll scrape it, you know, soften it up to scrape it right down.
Yeah, it's not supposed to get that cold tonight, right?
No, it's supposed to, you know, it's good for the tar, but it's not very good for because there's enough salt in the sand that I have to use on the dirt roads that keeps it muddy,
Right, right.
you know, so. But that's where we're at, unless you have questions.
No, well, we know paving's off the table.
Yeah, I think so.
Are we moving forward with the tree removals over on, like, Brett's?
I'll call and check up on things tomorrow.
Okay. I didn't know if they weren't.
Well, I told them, you know, at that last minute, I said, we have to reschedule. It's gotta be at least 30 days. And I was talking to the receptionist or secretary, whatever her title is. And she clearly understood that the job's still on. We want them to do it and everything else, that we just had to provide a 30-day window.
Gotcha.
So I'll let you know.
Sounds good. Any other road agents?
While you're here,
Mm-hmm.
the bridge,
Yep.
the design, does that come in?
No. And I will call on that tomorrow too.
Up to the design, that's all it's missing, right?
Yes.
Do we have the state report, the permits, the thing that we looked at before? That was
We
the
have, nothing has
process?
changed since we laid out all those permit applications and copies, and who's gotta go, have a copy and who's gotta do what. Basically, nothing has changed.
Yeah, we have the state report. Does that include
What do you
pictures?
mean by state report?
The report that says the bridge failed. for the first
Oh,
time.
the bridge, the regular bridge report.
Yeah,
I'm sure, I thought I would been giving them to you, but I will look. There's usually a couple copies come into town, and
when they did that, did they have any photographs of
they
damage or
generally don't
anything? They
provide photographs.
Just a description?
Yeah, yeah, and explaining, you know, it's a format that they fill out, you know, the deck, the abutments, the footing, and, you know, describe it out like that.
Did I get a copy of that when you got time in my
Yep.
mailbox?
Yep.
And all the permits are in place?
They have not been, we held off, you folks asked to hold off on issuing the check and submitting the permit until we found out more from them when we're gonna have the design and everything.
Okay,
So we have not been granted a permit to do the project yet, because we simply have not submitted it to the state.
Is that it? Has the state looked at the permit process yet, or that hasn't even begun?
It has to, it's in our hands now. So if you wanna, I mean, we can review that again.
So we just have to submit?
We have to, I
the
think
state?
there's a check that needs to be submitted. And I think the town clerk has to sign the copy. They did a very good job at spelling out what has to be done to submit it to the state.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
And if you want to put it on the agenda for next meeting, I will call and to give you a report on where we stand with the actual drawings, and we can take time and deal, you know, we can go through those permit applications again,
Okay.
if that's what you
Can
want
we
to
do
do.
that?
The work that they're doing is for what design?
Right now, it's a repair of the abutments and a new deck.
You were gonna, when you had time, you're gonna get a price on a temporary bridge.
Yes, and he was, I'll check before I go tonight, he was supposed to email me the cost of that. I will check my email when I'm done speaking and let you know if he has replied, and if not, that'll be the third item I'll take care of before this.
So what I heard you say was that we do nothing, the design that we're gonna get delivered is for a new deck and new footings.
Repair of the abutments.
So your abutments are the vertical that.
Correct, that hold back the riverbanks.
Okay.
One last small side note, unrelated to the bridge. Last meeting, a resident was asking if it's possible on the state part of 109, there's a yellow sign indicating Robinson Road coming up. You know how it's almost got like a schematic of the road?
Yeah.
It's
On
going-
Lyford.
On Lyford, excuse me. He was wondering, further down where Clock Road would be, can we get one of those signs made up indicating Clock Road turning coming up as well, and what the cost would be? Do you know?
So you're saying going north
If you're heading
on Lyford,
Yes.
there's a
Yes,
sign
that's
that
fine.
indicates Robinson Road,
Yeah,
and you want to know if we can get one for Lyford Road.
right, the state put that out for.
Yep.
For Clark Road.
Well, no, but the one that's already out there is Robinson.
Right.
Yeah.
We were looking to get one for maybe for Clark.
I am sure we could.
Is-
You could put one up, I don't think the state will.
The state's been putting them up, they put one up on, Clerk already, indicating
Oh, did they?
Gurney.
Okay, just gonna say.
So I don't,
The
you
state
know, I,
road- the state road stops at Clark.
correct. But because they're, and I just noticed another one somewhere, the state put a sign on our roads.
Oh, okay.
So I'm betting that if we, talk nicely to them, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
One way or another, maybe we would have to pay for it, but.
Yeah, he just brought it up, and I said we can get a cost, and if we can install it, then fine. I don't think it's a
Is
big-
that something we want to do with all our roads now?
Well, just that one right now.
Yeah.
The, when you're coming down Lyford, you can see Robinson, but Clark is the one that jumps up on you. If you're gonna have one sign, probably should have been Clark,
So you want it on the uphill side of Lyford?
downhill.
Going
From here.
north. Going north.
Going towards Chickarooni's from here.
Going north.
Okay, I got you.
Right across from Gary's, it'll reflect in his bedroom window.
Because when he said it that night, driving like, yeah, I saw his point. That could be beneficial, that you're not going right by Clark, or you're not jamming the brakes and doing that quick turn up the hill there. So I was just told him I would raise it for you. So
Okay.
thank you. And no code enforcement stuff we need to be worried about?
No,
Okay. Thank you, Eddie. So,
thank you.
all right, now we'll go back to treasurer, Rebecca.
So I have been working some on the website, and I have posted the 2018 budget with the proposed, what numbers we have so far for the proposed 2019 budget as of October 31st. So I will try to keep that up. So if departments or people that need to submit 2019 budgets are interested in either what we have or what their numbers are through either October or November, they could check the website under the treasurer's tab. So that's probably about it for me, and we'll work on budget when we're done.
Okay. Tax collector, Rose, anything you need to?
Don't know, don't have anything to report.
Okay. Works for me. Laurie, administrative assistant.
I don't really have too much either, just that the budget requests are out with a deadline of 12/01. We're hoping the rest of them will come in.
Planning board.
The last special meeting that we had scheduled had to be canceled due to lack of quorum, and our next meeting will be December 20th. Anybody have any other changes?
Yeah, next meeting is
29th.
Thursday night.
The 29th. Was on
Sorry,
the
the
web.
next meeting will be the 29th.
Was on the web.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that correction.
There we go. All right, conservation.
Other meeting, well, two things. I reported on the forestry plan, it's done now. They're scheduling a walkthrough with the biologist to update that part of it. I don't have a status on that walkthrough, but the goal is to have the whole plan to us by the end of the year. Conservation Commission meets on the 5th, next Wednesday, I believe it is.
Yep.
Yep.
Cemetery trustees.
Craig was here early, he dropped off the trust fund
Request.
request.
Yeah.
That's for a new trust fund?
No, it's for the use of the trust fund money during 2018.
The
And
current
then I
one.
submit that to the trustees.
Thank you.
Now, the Derek Hart one, that's at the creation of a new trust fund now.
Right.
And so as the board, do we wait for the trustees to go ahead and give us their recommendation? No. Or do we just go ahead and we use this letter as the means of going ahead and voting the approval of what would be titled Original Churchill Settlers Graveyard? Just a quick partial read of the letter. Gentlemen, enclosed find my check for $500 made out to the trustees. I would like to create a graveyard trust for one of the several Churchill graveyards in Brookfield. He gave a little bit of history behind the Churchill graveyard. The graveyard in question is currently known as the Churchill Graveyard, located on Tumbledown Dick Road and number G54, Carolyn Chase, history of Brookfield. The graveyard is actually located and currently owned by Zip Tie LLC, a company I believe to be owned by David Gattadaro. It is on the right side of the road when heading northwesterly on Tumbledown Dick Road in an area historically known as the Churchill Hollow. The graveyard is indicated as on town property maps as well. And, to distinguish this trust from other Churchill Graveyard Trust, I would suggest the title of Original Churchill Settlers Graveyard. I understand that only the interest generated by the trust will be used for the care and maintenance of this graveyard. Thank you, Derek Hart. So, I guess we need to make a motion whether or not we're in agreement that.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the $500 to be submitted to create a new trust for the cemetery as indicated in that letter.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Are we good? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. You did? I'm sorry. Oh, we'll get back to you. All right. So the trustee, that's good. And Heritage Commission, I did skip over Marilou, so I apologize.
No big deal. But I had something today.
I know, we do, yeah. Fit the new members on.
So the Heritage Commission at their last meeting voted to appoint Robert and Karen Surbichek and Ron Pryor to become members of the Heritage Commission. Their term would expire on 2021, so I would like a motion to accept that. Pass that to Laurie.
I make a motion to accept these new members as indicated in the letter.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're all good there, Marilou?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the Heritage?
No, just a reminder that next year will be the 225th anniversary of the founding of the town. We're setting up a calendar of activities for the year, and it'll start at the town meeting in March.
And no meetings?
No meeting in December. It's on the website. And the meeting, next meeting will be in January, and it too is on the website.
Other boards and committees. We had to re-establish the joint loss committee, and we agreed that we were going to go ahead, and the members were going to be myself, Marilou, and Laurie. Do we need to make a motion to include everyone on this? All right, I'll just make the motion. I'll chair the committee, Marilou, and Laurie will be on the committee with us as well for a term of 1 year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may
Yes.
I ask, you just give a brief description of what that actually is and what it does?
Because of our staffing levels, we are mandated to have this joint loss in order to maintain continuity within the town as far as maintenance of first aid and checklist of certain things that need to be maintained in order to, it's almost like a loss prevention type formulation that we're able to go ahead and just keep things intact, and if there's any action items, we would be the ones that would take care of them. You know, if we know that the generator needs to be maintained or we need to order new supplies, that kind of stuff. It'd be a quarterly walkthrough of the premises, and some simple minutes would be kept. Good.
Does this also get used for insurance purposes?
I don't believe so.
No. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Go right ahead, Brad.
thank you.
I didn't know if you wanted to do it during budget, and that's why I wasn't jumping at you.
Oh, well, I got a few things to
All right, let's
cover.
go to it then.
First and most importantly is my invoice.
We can do that.
Get the critical stuff out.
Here.
Well, the invoices over here too. We'll stack them right over here.
Oh, okay. That's that here.
Being ahead of schedule, unusual for me, I have my 2 budget requests for emergency management and forestry. And we can discuss those at that time if you'd like.
Sure.
And then thirdly, the memorandum of understanding for the expenditure of forestry for the hose that we talked about. I finally got all of that stuff from the state. We were approved for the $1,380 we asked for, which is a match. But it comes through as an MOU and not as a grant. If we spend the money, they'll match the money. My question is, does this need to go before the grant review committee where it's an MOU?
Yeah.
What's an MOU, just because I'm not...
Memorandum of understanding.
Memorandum of understanding.
Are there any conditions associated with it?
The only condition associated with it is the state reserves the right to come and inspect it whenever they so desire. I.e. be sure we bought it and it's here. Verify the purchase of it.
Ed, as grant review committee spokesperson for the night, what do you think?
Well, ask yourself this question. If you had to vote on something right now about this exact topic,
Yeah.
do you feel you have all the information in front of you in order to make the decision?
I just need to read what he's got right there.
If that part's up to you.
All right.
The grant review committee is the unofficial channel to give you information to help you make decisions on complicated grants. If this is just a memorandum of understanding and you can read this in public and understand what it means, then I would say it wouldn't have to go to the grant review.
Okay.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Sure looks that way. You guys will do it?
No streetlights required?
No streetlights required.
But Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that you have some type of conversation about the MOU so the public understands what it is about.
Yeah. You want to?
Would you like me to explain that part what it is?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, because, well, he's reading, because otherwise I'll just read off the top of the letter.
The New Hampshire Division of Forests and Lands has a program where they will match funds 50% up to $2,000 a year for forest fire suppression related equipment and supplies. And so this year I put in for forestry hose to finish outfitting what we have. And it'll be 2,000 feet for a total cost of twice of 1,380, so 2760, I guess that comes out to be. And so of that, the town approved or appropriated at the March town meeting $1,750. I will be expending $1,380, our share of it on the hose, plus whatever the shipping is going to be. There is one other form that goes along with it, which is general paperwork. It's the form to fill out for the financial capability checklist for cooperative agreements. And it says, do you have an accounting system? Yes. Will the accounting system allow you to break out the money that you spent for this? Yes. So I'm assuming it would be Marilou, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They own it forever.
Alright, so Rick's just pointing out number 6, the state retains the right to place property inventory tag on any items purchased with these funds and retains the right to inspect the property for the duration of its life. I don't foresee the state having that much interest in a piece of hose. This isn't like a fire truck, so I think we're in decent shape. So, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and accept this MOU for $1380 for the purchase of the fire hose.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There you go. Thanks, Brad.
Emergency operations plan, status of that from the things that are happening on this end. Do we know where it's at? The DUNS number and so forth.
I didn't think we, I don't want to speak. Marilou was looking for the DUNS number. I'm not sure if he ever got that finalized. I thought she was going back and forth with them on that, but here she comes. She's going a long way.
That's worth the
What are
cost.
you asking?
Brad was asking what the emergency management plan and whether or not we've got the DUNS number.
We have the DUNS number. And I've started the application with the federal government for, what is it I had to apply for?
For the grant itself?
No,
I didn't think so. I'm not quite sure.
there was something that needed the DUNS number put into it before we could apply for the grant through the state of New
Yeah.
Hampshire. And it had to go through the federal program, even though the funds we're receiving are from the state.
Right, with the state receiving from the feds.
Yes. So I have started that process, haven't finished it,
Beautiful.
but because I was waiting, at one point I was waiting for an answer from the woman at the state, and she got back to me, so now I need to finish it.
Excellent.
I didn't know internet today.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
I've been getting a lot of
Email.
conversation from the state now
Yes.
regarding the process and the length of time. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
We'll
you.
be talking budget later.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Go from there. Townhouse painting. I still gotta reach out to that guy that Laurie sent me the information on. This is between Thanksgiving and just getting back to work, but I will get to that.
And I sent you 2 names.
You sent me 2 names and Laurie gave me the name of the other one that rescheduled a couple times. And so I'm gonna get in touch with those couple painters and see if we can go from there.
Have we had any response at all?
Not from the other ones.
Because you sent out 4 requests.
All right. Well, I'll knock on their doors and see if they want to come take a look, see. Moose Mountain Bridge, we did discuss it, so are we all set with that?
No. I met with the neighbors that, whose property
Oh, yeah.
would be the host to a temporary bridge, should this process begin. And a lot of questions were arisen when we looked at the plan from the engineering company as to how they plan to do the work. One of the big concerns is there's a recovery tank where they're gonna pump up sludge, clean it, and put it back into the river as they work. And it's placed right in the middle of the deck. That's the cause of the temporary bridge. And the question was, why can't that tank be off to the side of the road? I think it's a good question. And so as far as permission to put the temporary bridge on the property, there's still more questions that need answers before permission is given for a temporary bridge. Originally, they were gonna do this half a bridge at a time. And suddenly it's jumped to a temporary bridge. That was kind of a surprise to me. But we talked about it and questions were arose. So when we discuss this whole project with Eddie, when we get everything together, that's probably when we get an answer for that. So still gathering information. Second, like I said I would do before, I contacted a marine engineering company, Riverside Marine Engineering in Portsmouth, about an alternative repair, just repair the abutment. This is their business. They do shoreline, seawalls, piers, decks, etc. And they're interested in looking at what we have so far and give us an answer to whether this is something that can be done, something that they do, and in worst case, they would be able to tell us who can do it. I got the impression from the engineer that I talked to that, yes, this is a repair that can be done without replacing the whole deck, without buying a temporary bridge, and saving quite a bit of money. So that's in process as well. That's it.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Any other old business anyone wants to tackle, or we all set there? All right, Pike Brook letter, that was just something I brought up. Pike Brook Road, a lot of the residents were told that road was gonna be paved this year. Obviously, the paving didn't get done. And so I just wanna go ahead and draft a simple letter to everyone that lives on the road. Just kind of explain to them that it's temporarily gonna be put off until next spring, and we'll be looking to get that put back into place to get the road paved. And just give them kind of a quick explanation that just, we contracted it, but it just, time and weather didn't permit. And we just need to go ahead and get Bob to get Laurie all the names and addresses on Pike Brook.
Okay. I think that's reasonable, but I would ask, what do we have to do to make sure that the paving that we want to get done gets done next year? And we're not chasing frost again. I mean, we know we want to do it now. What action do we have to take now? Why don't we put on the agenda to talk to Ed in 2 weeks? Next week. Becomes, let's get ahead of it. We know what we want to do.
This year, we had 2 contractors that were close. We stuck with one. He put us off. He said, don't worry, we'll get done.
October.
I suggested we go with the other guy. We decided to stick with this guy, and it didn't happen.
And
So if this comes up next year, if we have 2 contractors signed up within reason to do the job again, if somebody pushes us out, I say we move.
in my
Go with
point
the
is,
other
instead
guy.
of doing that negotiation in August, let's get it done in March. If we know what we want to do, let's get ahead of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's clear with something like this, you need to get on schedules earlier.
True. Why isn't our road being paved in the spring instead of,
Yeah, that's right.
why are we always, same with the painting, why are we always at the end of the line?
All right, so we'll talk to Eddie about that, but I'll get a letter drafted and I'll email Bob and ask him to get all the names for Pike over to Laurie, and I'll send Laurie a letter.
It'd be nice if the original guy holds his price and puts us first on the list.
That'd be nice. Not holding my breath on it.
You're gonna stuck us.
Yeah. What was it, $1,500 we saved?
Pardon me?
It was only $1,500 we saved, right? If we went with this other guy, they couldn't give us was it $1,500?
Wasn't much.
Yeah, I think it's 1,500. It wasn't a heck of a lot, but all right. Any other new business anybody wants to discuss?
I had that non-public issue, if you want to talk about that.
Sure.
So, where's the? I'd like to make a motion that we go into non-public to under 91A:3, 2E, consideration or negotiation of pending legal claims or litigation.
Okay.
Zachary, yes.
Robisheau, yes.
Surette, yes.
Let's go in there real quick.
So you wanna go in?
We'll go in there, yeah.
Is there anything in that?
Rebecca?
Just like that.
That's
Any
right.
questions there now?
We're firm believers in it.
Roaches from the light.
It was about roaches.
Like roaches from the light, the, room empty.
Scatter. All right, so we need a roll call back in?
A motion to leave non-public.
Don't we roll call first?
I guess you need to roll call if you want to seal the minutes.
Toss them.
I'll make a motion that we come out of non-public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three of us, yes. Zachary, Robisheau, Surette.
Yes, yes, yes.
Want to seal the meeting minutes?
For a year?
Sure. Make a motion, we seal the meeting minutes for 1 year.
Okay, second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good.
All right, so we're back. Are there any other bills, Marilou? These are the ones we got?
No. There's a whole bunch over here too. Well, a whole bunch. There are some.
Oh, shit. Any other public comments before we jump to bills? And mail? Okay, see none. You want to read the bills on, Marilou? or-
Sure.
No, here's the
It's
list.
out there. Okay. So we have a bill from Brad Williamson for work done around the office, and that's for $45. Simon Press, I paid. Staples, we don't owe anything. American Security Alarm, which is the monitoring of the stuff, the alarm system. $360, this is an annual fee. Avatar, this is for software support for the appraisal software for $1,695.10. And the second bill from Avatar is for software support for the tax collector software, and that's $1,537. Also paid aggregates. This is a statement. And before I give you that, I'm going to look it up and see if I paid it. Salmon Press for supervisors of the checklist is $55. Town clerk expenses for July, August, and September, and this is postage for mailing the reports to the state, $19.93. Craig Evans for cemetery trustees expense charge to his personal credit card, the solar flagpole light for the new cemetery, $48.99. And archival supplies, refund owed to Craig, $83.95. Eversource, $15.50. And Eversource again, $149.05. CMP Home and Property, this was mowing of the cemetery back when you could see the grass. for $400. The cost, the application for the post office box in Wakefield, I'll fill that out. It was 102. Do you want any discussion on it?
Did we decide what we're gonna do with that?
It's here.
I know. Well, this is Corey Pikeville.
Oh,
I think we should do it. That's gonna be the recommendation from the
auditor.
auditor. You know, Diane's not gonna be doing this job for, you know, forever. Sooner or later, you know, I think we should have it in place that the bills are gonna go to a secure location. Not the bills, the checks.
Yeah.
It just seems,
Makes sense.
I agree.
yeah, we have the issue with her 500 envelopes that she still has that are pre-printed.
We can get with that somehow.
So, yeah, so the post office indicated that the mail that is addressed to this post office box would be put in this post office box. All the rest of the mail that typically goes wherever it goes would go there, like if it comes down to town,
Yeah.
or for those 500 envelopes.
So we
They
can either
would
make
still go.
labels up and relabel them, or just run those through
I think you run them through,
and just deal with it that way and let it,
or we could run, either way,
Just labels.
yeah. We could do labels, that's no problem. I can do labels. Okay,
okay.
label stock,
All right, so we can relabel those envelopes so we can start fresh. So
yeah.
the next round of billing will be where we start that. So the next round of billing isn't for a little while.
Maybe.
So do we want to just put this off till next year, or do you want to just,
She wants to order pre-printed envelopes, that's
Oh,
part of
that's-
what's pushing it, is she
That's
wants
right.
them printed with that, with an
Alright.
address.
yeah.
So
we need
that's
the
why I
PO
was
box.
thinking we needed to do it
I
now,
forgot that was the other part of it, so,
before the price goes up. Sure it was going.
right. So you want to do it?
Hey, make a motion, we'll do it.
Okay, sure. All right, make a motion that we arrange a PO box up at Wakefield, Sanbornville, for the tax collector only. And Marilou will complete the application and cut the check.
So if you'll approve it on my little sticky note, then I can just, the application won't have all your initials all over it.
Second.
And
All right, so Rick seconded the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
thank you. So a bill from Ossipee Aggregates for coarse wash sand, $2,105.42. And then some salt from Granite State Minerals for $1,775.80. Freedom Printers, oh, I had to order envelopes and checks. Where's my checks? We have one for checks too, I'll have to find it. So the envelopes were $57.90, and I'll find the one for the checks. Create Positively Creative Solutions, this is for the annual hosting of the website?
No, the
No, the email.
emails.
$120. We have an order, funds owed to Laurie Champy for ordering a toner for Virginia.
Back to the email. Now, we've checked with using the same vendor as the website. No,
They don't do it anymore.
they don't do it anymore. So we've got one place for the website, and we've got a different place for the email.
And I thought there was a third one that came, but I could be wrong. Usually it comes about February or March.
What was the name of that company?
Oh, so this is the gentleman,
In
In
all.
In Alton.
In Alton.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've gotten this every year.
And then we have someone hosting the website, and then we have maintenance of the software that runs on that
Yeah.
on that website.
Yeah.
Could we, is it, on our contact list, do we have these three vendors? If we have to reach them? We only talk about once a year, right? So
Right.
this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity to capture all the contact information.
Oh, it is.
I have 2 of the 3 readily available, I'm not sure about the third.
This one, you don't know if you,
I
is
have-
this the one you
I
have?
have it. yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I need a roll of stamps, $50.
Hurry.
I know, the US Post Office. 10 construction, plowed, sand, and scraped the roads, $5,801.
Through the last storm of this, I mean, this is
It's
how current,
through
how current
the
is it?
25th. Today's the 27th.
It's only November.
It is November. And then I'm also, have written up the request for the funds, excuse me, for the trustees of the trust funds. So we have a transfer for the bill from the cemetery commission for $345 from the different trust funds that have had work done on them this year. And then we have bills to transfer from the town to the trust accounts, $136,000. And then I listed the 2 that did not have work done, which was the
Townhouse?
no,
No.
the townhouse is included.
In the road.
The road is not. We're putting money in, we're not taking any money out. And then the Moose Mountain
Can we-
Capital Reserve.
Can we take a look at that one?
Absolutely.
I mean,
And you can compare it
not
to-
approve it tonight, is what I'm saying.
That's fine. I'll leave a copy of it, and if you go through the town report, you know. So that's the bills I have.
All right, make a motion, we accept the bills as read on the record.
Mr. Chair, sorry, you started the voting mode already, but the email issue, are you voting now to accept the cost of doing email with that contractor? Do we know where the servers are for that email? Do we know anything, what's going on with that? What's the background of that company?
I don't have much background on it. I just know it's the email repository that we use and, they maintain it for us.
So they do that now? So this is a contract for next year, for the whole next year?
Or was it for the contract
No,
for
it's-
the year that just went through?
Okay, so you.
No, it goes to 2019.
Oh, I thought when I read the bill, I thought it was, it said from November 18, right?
December 1st, 2018 to
To
November 30th to 2019.
So it's the upcoming, I'm sorry.
And it gives us how many emails?
All the ones we have.
But I'm not sure there's a limit.
Okay, so that means no one should be using their personal email, and everybody's going to be using the municipal email to communicate? Is that what the policy is?
That would be wonderful.
I use my personal email.
Like committee, not individual,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's
Committee
committee chair,
emails.
so the committee emails. Okay. The reason why I bring it up is I just always worry that people are consistently using personal emails, and if something were to happen, it's gonna be a mess to try to 91
Well,
requests, whatever's in there.
On that, whenever the 3 selectmen typically email, we always copy the admin email, so we always know all the emails will be stored on that server under her email address.
Okay.
So that's our fail-safe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I had meant to make this as a public comment, and this is an opportune time to bring this up. The emails for the officials, the town officials, are not on the new website. The only way, I had wanted to communicate with a few of you, and the only way to do that is through that message screen.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help me create, there's no paper trail for me. There's no way for me to prove that I have sent an email from from me to you.
Right.
So when you look at, when you hover over the person's name, it's not an email address, it's like I don't know, it's a code.
Will it give you an option to CC yourself?
I don't didn't think to look for that.
I'm not sure.
But I think that that's, I mean, for me, it was a deterrent, because if I'm gonna communicate with you guys in an official capacity, which I'm happy to do, through a town email, then I'd like to be able to be sure that I maintain a copy of it. So it's not a huge issue, but it creates some discomfort. You know, it dissuaded me from contacting you people on some issues.
Let me check, because I thought I did what you just described, and it went to the official official email. So maybe some work and some don't work. Because that's the way it was supposed to be set up. You click on Selectmen and it goes to the Selectmen's email.
I raised the question in the training, and her answer was they didn't feel people would want their email listed, as I recall.
They were supposed
It was a
to,
matter of security for some reason.
we wanted to use the municipal address.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but have your municipal email available so that I can send you an email from my Gmail account instead of through the website.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I now understand.
So, because when it's one thing when I'm sending something off to a company because I have a concern or a complaint, and I fill out their form. I either hear back from them or not, but if I'm sending you folks something, I want to make sure that, you know, or if it's.
So you want access
So I
to
just-
our official email addresses?
Well, I just think that they should be made available.
Yeah.
I don't want them,
Yeah,
for
they
me
used to be.
personally, I think that everybody should have access to that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I found Marilou's, in the, which I didn't realize, the treasurer, at Brookfield Hampshire.org, was in the newsletter that had come out. But, so it's inconsistent, and I think that so as you're talking about having this agreement with these people, I would hope that you could make that more user-friendly for your constituents.
It used to be right next to our name,
Or at least available if you hovered over it. And then I could pick it up
Well, I
and
saw it
send, and then just use my own
right?
email account. But now when you hover over it, it gives you,
Send a message. It doesn't say mail to instead of
well, it
something
gives
else.
a code.
says-
It's
Yeah.
a set of numbers and letters and so forth, and everybody has a defined number.
All right, so there's a little bit of correspondence here. First was a certified letter from Charter Communications. Dear municipal official, Charter Communications, locally known as Spectrum, is making changes to our channel lineup for customers in your community, effective on or after December 5th, 2018. WXPXT Escape is launching on SPP Basic and Starter TV, channel 1261. If you want the full lineup, go to Spectrum.com.
We get those monthly.
I know, it's correspondence, I'm reading on the record. What else we got? I already read, this was the graveyard trustee thing. There's a driveway permit from the New Hampshire DOT onto Governor's Road. Let's see. Is there a lot number here?
There's a backside to that, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the lot number. All right, here you go, tax map 15, lot 1E. And it's on Governor's Road. And they have approved the proposed driveway. I'll pass this along to Eddie. And the last but not least, New Hampshire Co-op is just letting us know traffic details for NHEC outdoor lighting work. If we, as a town, require a police traffic detail, it'll be at our cost. Otherwise, they'll continue to do things with proper safety sign and cones. So, that was all of the written communication. So, Bill's back to Marilou.
Did we make a motion to pay those? Did we make a motion to pay those?
Yep. All right, I'll pass these up.
Yep.
You can make a copy of this month.
It figures,
One.
everything's
I
there.
have one.
All right. There's some copies of the budget here.
Did you get one?
Yeah, we got that one.
I did do a test on the email, and it doesn't allow an option to CC yourself.
You want one?
Yep, yep. Well, do you want to do income first, or do you want to go straight to?
No, we should go straight to expenses, probably. And do part of them.
Yep, what we have.
We don't have much. Do you want to start filling some in?
Yeah, we may as well start right on government expenses,
All
start with the executive first.
right. Yep. So selectmen's salary.
Just maintain the 15.
Yep.
So this, and then the board secretary salary is at $7,750.
I think we'll have to go into non-public and talk about all salaries.
Oh, that's good. I will get you by the next meeting, hours and wages.
For everyone. For everyone.
Yeah,
All right, so just gonna jump down to board expenses.
Sure.
yep,
What do we have, $200?
yep.
Just leave it at $200.
Oh, I do have the new municipal dues. That went up to 1071, I believe. And selectmen's expenses, this was, I put in here the conference that you went to in November.
And you said municipal dues went up to what, 107?
1071.
Selectmen expenses, 200, just
200.
leave it as is.
Do you think there's any other meetings or workshops you'd go to? I have no clue.
They're generally free,
Oh, okay,
because we've been to a number of them.
Right,
okay,
this is the one that's,
okay.
that covers.
So, office and computer supplies, equipment is at 1,200 this year. I might recommend we leave it at that, and then this would be a possible place where we could come down a little at the end.
Yeah, we're picking up Virginia's printer.
No, Virginia's printer goes under Virginia's supplies.
Mm.
What do you mean, we're picking up the printer?
The state's giving us the printer, so we
Yes,
have to
but we have
maintain
to
it.
buy a toner.
That's right.
Right,
So she has her own toner account?
yeah,
Yeah.
she does, it's called expenses.
So why don't we just drop it down to 1,000 even,
1,000.
just for now?
I
If we
think
want.
she's been buying the toner all along.
I thought she has too.
I think she has as well. So public notices, this one's over budget for the selectmen. But may not be more than 300 next year.
Because we typically notice hearings, we had a couple extra hearings this year because of that extra money, a couple other
Yeah.
odds and ends.
Yeah,
Let's just leave it at 300.
Yes.
Okay.
town meeting expenses, so this is primarily the printing of the annual report report.
Okay. Just leave it at 8, I guess?
Yeah. IT contracts, 2,500. So I was looking at when the computers were purchased. Now, we don't have any full-time employees, so I'm thinking they could go for a while. But I heard that Eddie could be having trouble with his, and I meant to ask him about it.
Yeah, he was having issues, we're having issues logging on to the Selectmen one. So I'm not sure if it's a computer or if it's just a software issue.
So why don't we leave it at 2,500, and we'll see if we need anything, and we can come down on that one as well on Monday.
Is that labor or is that equipment?
It could, it's labor primarily, and it's the labor, it's excluding the labor for the town clerk.
That's right, so we have a trust fund for equipment,
Yes, we do.
so that's just labor.
Yep. And then the perambulation of the town lines, leave $1 in there,
Yes.
Iggy?
and then 5,000, remove the contingency up here. Do you want to leave it at 5,000 or reduce it, increase it?
Leave it alone then.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine, as is.
So that ends up coming down, oh, because we don't have the secretary.
Yeah, let's say, so we really can't tell it.
So the town clerk, salary will probably remain the same.
Did you get a budget? She submitted anything yet?
She has not, I reminded her that it's due, she said she was out of town this week and would take it to work on it. So for expenses,
Why don't we wait for her budget, see what it looks like?
that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, because if not, we're just killing time.
Yeah, we got some that were submitted, right? We got-
Yes, if you, yep. So if we go down to the ones that were submitted, the next one is 4142 elections from the moderator, and he has 400 in salaries for the moderator and election officials, and $1 in each of the others, and then dues and workshops, $60.
Sounds good.
He said only one election. Does that sound correct, Rose?
Just the town, right?
Oh,
No, September.
huh?
Is there an election, when's their election?
No, I don't think so.
Just the town election, town
In
meeting.
March?
Okay.
That's what I think. It's a flat.
Okay.
Get rid of that.
I'm still working on mine, so nothing there, and I don't have anything from the tax collector yet. Assessor, clerk, I have, so that's 4152. So 3,500 for the salary of the assessor clerk. The deputy, we left in 750. Then expenses, 300, software, 2,000. So I didn't get an invoice for Avatar.
Didn't we just
for
get it?
that? Yeah, but I typically get it.
What's your question?
So $2,000 in line 4152.210 should be,
Wasn't it close to $3,000 between the two? No, one was for the tax, though.
one's tax collector, one's, but I should have had one, I should have had an expense sometime.
We just did. You're at tonight.
I know.
Well, what about the
What's your
Maclean one
question?
too? Don't we have, or no, that's, or that
The
goes on.
tax map is separate,
It's
and
separate.
that's gonna have to go up to $800.
We'll wait, let's,
Let's go back to the 2,000. I
what's your question?
typically think I would have spent it by now, but we did approve one tonight. So,
Yes,
yes,
that's
Yes.
why, yeah, so it's gonna be, it'll roll in tonight, or I guess I have to today.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's like what, 1,500 and some change for
Yeah.
one.
yeah. But usually the tax, so tax collector,
They're both there tonight.
that's, okay,
Okay?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
So 2,000 for software, mileage 100, dues and workshops 200. I increased the tax map because they've increased the bill to us, so quarterly it's now $200 a quarter. And then assessing for Rod Wood, he left at 4,000. Now, is it next year the year of the reevaluation?
Yes, 22,000 was the
Yeah.
number that was quoted. 22,000 is on contract.
So,
We're gonna,
what do I need to do?
Don't we do that in the trust?
It's a, no, there's a different line item for it, but do you think his,
no, his 4,000 is staying the same.
okay,
We're gonna put 22,000 in here to do the actual reval,
Right.
yeah,
coming from a trust fund.
Yeah, we have the trust that builds
Yes.
that up wherever.
Yes.
But we have to show it as an expenditure.
yes. Okay. So I have nothing from,
So you're gonna put that in 22,000
sure,
under
I
assessor,
think it's, do I hear, now it goes down.
whatever the proper
bottom
accounting code is.
Um,
Yeah, it's on 4160, right? And you already got it there.
Okay, if that's where we're gonna put it, that's why I did it, on page 6,
mhm. Why, look at that,
22,000, scary. Okay.
it's good when it works.
All right, so now, so we're good with the assessing, how he's got it set up? Just a
Yep.
$50
Yeah.
increase?
Where do you see 50? Oh, bottom line.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so I have nothing from the trustees of the trust fund on 5154. We have nothing so far from auditing on 4157. And legal expenses, what do you want to do there? Keep it the same?
I'd say yes.
Yeah, we drew that down pretty hard last year to this 15, so I think let's leave it as is.
And then the reevaluation is 22,000. I'll look over the employer portion of payroll taxes and come up with a number, and I'll try and get a workers' comp number and a regular insurance number, if I can, out of them. So ZBA submitted there, that's 4192. The salary for the ZBA administrative assistant at $400, expenses at $400, public notices at $300, and dues and workshops at $400.
Nothing from the planning board yet?
No.
Okay.
You want to do general government buildings?
I think we should.
Okay, so 1,500 probably for the cleaning personnel. And expenses, we have 500 in here.
It's gonna go to 250 there, see like this.
Sure.
We're only using a heck of a lot of that. Every year it sits there.
So repairs to the building and grounds, what have we got for this year? Painting?
And weren't we doing trust for that, or did we decide to build more money into the trust, I thought, right?
All right. We got a little spreadsheet that shows what our plans are for the next few years. Is it in the town? Yeah, I think it was in the town report. Let's take a look at that.
Mhm.
Page 26.
Alright, so we banked on $20,000 for painting exterior.
No. 2018, the roof's done, the handicap ramp's done. We didn't get the painting and we didn't get the siding. If I remember correctly, we have to check, we're putting the money into the trust fund.
Trust, because we've had problems where we've not done the projects and the money then gets reabsorbed as a buy now.
So the question is, what do we think we're gonna try to get done this year,
Yeah.
2019?
The other question I have is how much is in the other trust?
Well, this is the expenditure, right?
Yeah, but how much have we banked into that trust account?
Putting more in, let's put more in that request.
Town building maintenance, right, this is the one we're looking at, right, town building, ground maintenance, is that the one we just said that, or is the townhouse repair capital reserve fund?
We have two.
Right.
The one was where we got trapped, we couldn't do any expenditures until March town meeting.
Right, because wasn't that like the truck fund or something that we converted?
Well-
Or, no, that was the bridge we converted that to.
Because it wasn't in a trust fund, so we couldn't spend the money because it was operating, so we set up two trust funds.
Yeah.
One for the townhouse and one for the other facilities. You see both of them there. So we're talking about,
We're adding 30,000 to it.
So right now, we're adding 30,000 to which one, Marilou?
To the townhouse repair trust fund.
So right now, the townhouse, so the ending balance, 12/31/17, was $45,000.
And we're adding 30,000 in the request for tonight.
So with the request tonight, we're gonna put another 30 on top of that.
requests from,
Trust funds.
oh, that was voted on.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's not a new request.
No, no.
That's the request for March.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, it was one of
I thought
the,
there was another request that was coming in.
No, page 24.
yeah, it was question number 8.
Yeah.
So $30,000 is gonna be tossed on top of that, 45 grand.
Yep.
So we'll be at $75,000 in that account, in that reserve fund. We didn't need to put in the money, right?
All depends what we're gonna do. What are we gonna, we can do nothing and put it at zero. That's the question, what are we gonna try to do and how much money does that take? That's the question. I mean, we're talking about lead paint. We're also talking about maybe the best way to deal with lead paint is just recite it.
Right, that was something that was thrown around the other night. We
Yep.
talked about it, and
It might make sense to,
re-sign the whole damn place.
What's the problem with lead paint on the exterior?
Well, we're questioning, when they scrape it down, they have to capture the lead paint. They can't just toss it. So there's an added expense with the lead paint, and we're questioning how many of those boards and they need to be replaced anyway. So at what point does it just become easier just to strip the building down, to get rid of the old siding, put brand new siding up? My only question is, you're stripping down lead paint contaminated siding, does that still leave us the problem of contaminated siding that needs to be dealt with?
I got a price for the best clapboards, cedar clapboards, primed on both sides, from Middleton, a couple of years ago now. A couple of years ago, it was $20,000.
That's just material.
Chickaroni told me he had 50% to put it up, take it down and put it up. It's primed, but it's got to be painted immediately, it won't stand up a winter. So if you take those ballpark numbers,
30 grand, it's re-sided.
So you're talking 30 grand plus
paint,
another,
easy paint, because now there's no scraping.
you're probably talking at most $10,000 to paint that building. Would bring a siding up. Right.
What is the insulation in the townhouse? Are the walls insulated?
No.
that would be the ideal time to look at maybe like blown in that was done in the schoolhouse, but be able to do it from the outside.
Yeah.
You may want to look at if you're gonna go that much, look at a more global picture. You can do a number of things without affecting the interior of the building.
It's not a bad idea.
We did, we blew
Wiring,
insulation into the top part,
Yeah, the attic key.
the attic,
right, but nothing in the
but
walls.
nothing in the walls that I recall.
Do you need new wiring or more outlets or anything like that?
No,
all
we
done.
did one.
That's all done.
All the electric's done, plumbing's square, heat's squared, roof's good.
Our big ones there are painting windows and plaster, and then painting the interior.
Just a thought.
So,
No, it's a good thought.
so that,
Yeah.
so you gotta put another number on that, it's a good idea. Put another 10 on it, that will be high, I don't have any idea what the number would be.
Blowing insulation of the building, yeah, I don't know.
It's all post and beam, so it could be challenging, right, because you got stuff going.
The wind braces, but just with a hole saw, make holes where we need to and,
They just shoot it in.
yeah.
So I guess my point is, given the cost to reside it, we can beat that against the cost we get for painting, if we ever get a cost. I mean, for some odd reason, people are not responding, right? We tried this year, so we went out, we want the work done next year, and we're still getting no response.
And revisit that siding quote.
Oh, it's mostly high, right? I bet maybe it's 30,000 now.
Oh, 2 years.
I have no idea.
Better be close.
So what do we want to try to do this year? That's the question.
Let's stick with the exterior this year.
Did we try for painting or what, some semblance of all that and windows?
I think, I don't know. How much we have in the trust, 70,000?
75.
It'll be up to 75 once we deposit the 30.
The roof is good, right?
Yep. Roof is new, electric's new.
Let's concentrate on the exterior. We do the best possible job on the exterior, that would help preserve everything else that's inside.
And any pounding and banging, we're not gonna, if we damage plaster, we damage plaster now before we get into plaster and painting.
So
We don't have that to happen.
so now we want to go for new quotes. Or new proposals.
To strip the old siding and put new siding up.
Yep.
And that'll probably reduce the painting quote.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, just
Absolutely.
slapping it on,
Absolutely. I don't want to replace, I don't think we should replace the cedar shakes. They're too expensive to put back up.
Try to brush them down and paint them, yeah.
But the clapboards, chances are they're old pine boards, they're not even cedar. So, all right, we should go out for a proposal to re-side.
When do you want to do that?
Would ask your question differently? When do we want the work done?
When do you want to send out the RFPs?
We should do it now. Request for proposal, right?
Yeah, because if we get a good number back now, we can budget right in for it.
That's right.
We can either budget in for the full amount and add that full amount to the trust to keep the trust stable at 75, or we do
Take it-
some variation therein.
We start taking, yeah, we're done, we take it down. So we're gonna do remove and replace with,
Remove,
Prime.
dispose, replace.
yes, prime cedar clapboards. And then we should ask from the quote on
Does it-
insulating.
Specify which cedar you want,
Yes,
whether you want figure jointed or not.
no, we don't.
Okay, then
Some of us have been there.
you might want to specify that.
Does it have to be cedar?
Cedars will last forever. It doesn't have to be cedar.
I know that Eddie was looking at other numbers.
Yes, he
different
was,
types
but he
of
was
wood,
trying to get,
so-
I mean, you can get pine, right? Do it every few years. Let me see. Middleton gave me prices for various types of, oh jeez.
Right.
They talked about 1x6. I'll give you this, Laurie.
Okay.
This is the various grades. One, 2x6 clear, very good prime cedar, clapboard. That was $20,000 for 4,000 square feet. Yeah, how did you get 4,000 square feet? Measured around, just walked around and looked at it. But I'll give you this because here's what we want material-wise. This is the expensive one on there. All right, supposed to come back to this thing.
Yeah, that's worth,
How about if I just put down painting, question mark?
We have to decide.
Yeah,
What do
siding
you,
painting.
what do you want me to put for a deadline for a response? I'll do my best to mail them tomorrow.
January 1st.
yeah, I don't think we go any later than
Because
that.
then we have time to just tweak the budget.
Yep. Do, once we do January 1st.
They can almost do that work in the winter if they want.
Do you have specific companies you want
I've
to
got
mail
one.
to?
Well, we should put it on our website. And I've got one that has done work for the town before.
Do you
TV
want it
Brook.
in the paper? What are we after?
We just want a good job.
No?
You ready?
Very good contractor here in Brookfield, one of our residents, John Moran, M-O-R-A-N.
Yeah, I've talked to him. His billing's funny.
I've had him do quite a bit of work for me, and I've been very pleased with his craftsmanship.
What was the other name that you said?
The one that's worked for the town is PV Brook.
Yeah, Phoebe Brook. I can get you their phone number if you need it, and probably their address.
All right.
All right, so let's
Look
do
for more.
So we were on repair to buildings and grounds, right?
Yep. And then building maintenance. So why don't we leave those two? Go to, do I owe Hayden any money for shoveling snow?
I think he's only shoveled once so far, and I've done it a couple of times.
Okay.
So it's Martin's, it's really low end.
Should we put that to 500?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Propane and electricity. Now I just got another propane bill. Oh, this is for October.
And we locked in a good rate on that, right?
Yeah. But I think
That's-
it's a little,
That's through May. We don't know what's happening next
Yeah, no,
November.
no, that's true, but the bulk of our
let's leave it at
bills.
7,000 for now.
Yeah, I think we're,
Telephone and internet, we're gonna go over that.
yeah, the last couple. You want to do
Yeah,
1,500?
so 1,500, yeah, that's good. So website support, is it gonna stay at the 1,500 a year, do we know that? 1,500 a year, okay. And then town-owned property, we could probably go to 500 or 300.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll just do 300 there.
Okay, so that comes down without those two. I thought I had the cemetery numbers. I'll have to look. I thought I had them. Pardon me?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't we wrap up for the
Yeah.
night now?
That's fine, and then I'll get insurance.
Brad, one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brad, you wanted to do yours, I did forget, I'm sorry.
If possible, it would be nice.
All right, now let's just do it.
So forestry is 4225.
Yeah. Sorry, Brad, I feel like I'm just
That's
spacing.
all right, I'm used to being forgotten.
Yes.
He's asking for the first one, 4225.300, to come down to $250, and then forest fire control stay at 1,000.
And I didn't put on there, but the rest of the lines, to keep it the dollar and dollar. Truck maintenance, $50, mostly for an inspection sticker. And then the mileage, I've never charged that, I don't anticipate charging it, so that could go down to $1.
Okay.
What was the first one?
250.
$2.50, $17.50 down to $2.50.
All right, so that brings it down to 1303. And then the other one is emergency management, 4290. And he put that at 500 unless something happens.
That's the 500 again, just for emergency management itself, for the management plan. Assuming that 5,000, we go back in there again.
Yeah.
Okay, so that 5,000 needs to go in there also.
So 5,500.
So ideally it would be 5,500, not 5,000. And again, the 500 makes it available if needed, shall I say, but if you go back through the records, we'll spend very little of it. So it's pretty much a take back at the end of, or give back at the end of the year.
Okay, I got it. So that's where we stop for tonight.
Yeah.
And then I just need a repeat of when we said we'd meet in December.
We're gonna meet December 4th and 18th. If I remember correctly. It's all right. Yes. Make sure. All right, see nothing else, meeting adjourned.